dedication towards the Costco program. And over the past couple of days, you heard from a lot of Springs Window Fashions team members. You also heard from Alec Falcon on staffed events and roadshows. Well, we thought it was really important that we bring in a guest speaker today. And this guest speaker is the most outgoing, friendliest gentleman that I've met. And he is from the Carolinas, and I actually call him my friend. We talk often, we talk about the business, and I really appreciate the passion that he brings to this company. And he's been with us from day one. And I thought it would be important for you to hear from him and some of his great expertise and educational tips to share with you. And it is my pleasure to introduce Daniel James from Pay Blinds and More. Let's give him a welcome.
Welcome, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you to Costco and Greer for putting on the best damn Costco Symposium we've ever had. This team, top to bottom, Christine, I mean, we've done this in 3 phases, y'all. She pulled this off without a hitch. That's quite an impressive feat. And so many people on the Costco team behind it, but also the AV team here. I mean, it's so hard to run an event like this without any distractions so that we can all just absorb. I really appreciate it. And the incentives team, Mark, Stacy, Megan, Beth, y'all always are just, you're so great. You make us feel so home so we can absorb it. But yeah, I'm just really excited to be here. And I've gained so much the past few days from all of you dealers, and that's usually always the key highlight for me, is what I gained from all of you. And it's truly a privilege to speak to you all today. This room's jam-packed, wall to wall, with women and men that have made such a huge impact on my business partner Frank and I's business. And we're forever indebted to y'all. Y'all changed our business, Costco and Greer as well. A little bit about me. I found my stride doing in-home window fashions at 18 years old. I was in HVAC for a little while, but I was a turkey farmer before that. And I love in-home design sales. And I still do in-home design sales. I still do it. It keeps my finger on the pulse of our business. We have 12 design consultants, and I still love doing in-home design sales. And today we're privileged to partner with 10 Costco's and window fashions and 12 in awnings. I know there's so many of you that make that number look small, and I respect the hell out of you for it. But that's a big number for us. And prior to Costco, I tried several other partnerships, so I have a pretty good gauge on this. And I've also had a lot of other opportunities to speak, but you're going to hear me talk about a lot of people today because it's different right now. It really is. We really have a different situation that we're privileged to be a part of. I'm privileged to be able to speak to you all. But I tried a lot of other partnerships, but the thing is, it doesn't matter how good you are in the wrong place. Put this in simple North Carolina terms that everybody understand. The GOAT is Michael Jordan, unequivocally. I'll talk you down on it, okay? He hit the game winner against Georgetown. He went in the league, put 3 on him, retired because it got boring, came back, 3 more. Unequivocally, he's the GOAT. But put the man in a baseball uniform and he is average. He's very average because it doesn't matter how good you are if you're in the wrong place. And so Costco and Greer were the right partnership for me. I got off this little chain that I was attached to in a bad market with a franchise. And then I got a part of this partnership, and it was like grabbing hold of a lightning bolt. And the reason is because this partnership is built on the success of trust. And I sell by earning trust. So that felt like a glove for me. And so today, I really want to cover 3 main topics. And the first 2 are going to be about what we do at our company. And then the last one is just going to be about why that works. And so first, we sell through teaching and serving. That's our key ingredient to our company and our team. The second is going to be about the tools and the tech that we use to help our professionals teach and serve. They help support that mission, and they allow us to focus on what we're best at, teaching and serving our members. And then finally, how all of those tools and the service and the teaching and the tech, they only work if you're in the right situation. All right, so let's get started. First thing you should really know about me is I don't sell, I teach. And to me, the difference is really simple. It's one thing, it's intent. Is the intent to get a sale, or is the intent to give education and guidance to a member, customer? And each and every person in this room, we're all here because of exceptional teachers somewhere in our lives. So many of them are here in this room for me, who've added to us. But I'd like to ask you all to take a moment and think of a teacher over the course of your lives that's been impactful on you. For me, I can immediately think of Dr. Willoughby, who I wanted to kill my quantitative methods teacher my senior year of college, because he was so much harder than he had to be. But by the end of that semester, even though the whole class was still revolting on him, I wanted to kiss him because I could see how I was about to use this, and it ended up being the foundation of an estimating software that was for a company that I've used for a very long time until somebody smarter than me got me on a different system. But we're all here because of exceptional teachers. So if you wouldn't mind, just think of a specific person for each of you, because I'm convinced that most all the best teachers, they have a common thread. And so think of someone that's been important to you. I can think of a ton. But all the best teachers aren't the ones with the knowledge. They're the ones that know how to present the knowledge in a way that it sticks, and that's the key. They're patient enough to do that, and they'll give their time and they'll give their energy at a consultation or with an employee that maybe needs some work to lay a foundation of trust and build on top of. And that's the difference between having knowledge and knowing how to teach it to someone else. Because if having knowledge was enough, the best leaders and the best mentors in the world, they'd be the best educated people, and I think we can all agree that's not the case. But I'll give you an example that I think, unfortunately, everybody's going to relate to perfectly, and that's, have you ever met a doctor with bad bedside manner?
Yes.
Yeah. If you haven't come across it, one of your family members has. That's an example of someone who knows all the information, they passed the test, they got there, they know it, but they lack the heart of a teacher. And so I'm going to share a story about me. I had a doctor put me through hell for a better part of a decade. He was actually really highly rated. He was a pretty nice doctor. I wasn't going to him for no reason. But he never took time to understand my health or me or what wasn't working. And it was just an assembly line of billable procedures, and by the book, he was checking the box. And one day after almost a decade, I was like, I'm done. And so I found another doctor. And at first, one of the things I want you to keep in mind when we have a bad member, in this story, I truly was a bad patient. I really was. I was not ready to listen. I was expecting the same results. I was sure of it already. And so I knew I was going to get the same run around, but he saw that. And then he was patient enough with me. And I'll never forget it, I was venting my frustration, and I guess he just got tired of it. He sat down on his little rolling doctor stool, he just scooted across the floor, and he got eye-to-eye with me. He was like, Mr. James, are you willing to trust me? And it's kind of like, I'm kind of close, but yeah. But I think it was like, because if you're I've got a plan that will work, if you'll allow me to go through it with you, I think we can make a difference here. And I'd like to explain it to you. And let me tell you something, y'all. I don't know about y'all, but something about the way he came at it with asking for permission with me, and the way he asked me if I trusted him, and it was just the way he respected me. And he cared about me, finding the cure. You know what, some of the most important things he did is he went into routines about how I could make an impact on the situation, with sticky notes in the bathroom mirror, different things like that would actually make a difference. That's not his job. It wasn't part of his job. His job was to diagnose me and prescribe me, but he went above and beyond that. And after a few months, I was practically cured. And after all that, the cure was really just a good teacher that was willing to teach the right treatment plan rather than prescribing the standard treatment plan. And so the difference is the first doctor, he was in the business of getting billable procedures, but the second doctor, he was in
the business of giving education that avoided billable procedures, and he gained a patient for life, but the first one, he lost one. I thank God for the teachers. They really represent the best in humanity in my eyes, and it's not enough to just know the information. I say to our design team, maybe it's annoying to them, I have no use for knowers. I'm in the business of surrounding myself with teachers. We've fortunately got a lot of great teachers on our team. Couldn't do it without them. But teachers, they don't do it because they have to. They do it because they have this flame inside them that it's usually lit by another teacher, and it just, for whatever reason, compels them to light it in somebody else. And I can tell a member the product is right for them, and Mr. Jones, yes, this is check, check, check. Yep, that's the reasons why. But if I'm not personalizing the lesson or their learning style, then I'm missing an opportunity to plant my words in their brain and own real estate there. If I haven't laid a foundation first, I'm just a knower, I'm not a teacher. I'll give you a good example of a teacher in this room with the right intent. I have seen the hard questions asked to Costco in public settings. And I mean the big red, you know the easy button staples? The big red easy button questions, and somebody just couldn't. Public setting. Most people would have quivered, but not Bill Prescott. Bill just popped up and said, oh, I'll take that. I'll take that one. I'm thinking, ugh. You know what he did? He just got up and told a true, recent, relevant story that just kind of settled into the issue. There's going to be probably more of that. And then my favorite thing is he just taught. He just kind of laid out some facts, went over some misconception, and they just did it in the most absorbable way possible. Anybody got any questions? And then there was no tension anymore. That's what a teacher does. It's a privilege to watch the leaders at Costco and Graber in action every day. I have learned so much that has equipped me and my team to be better leaders. And here's another thing about the best teachers. The best teachers, they rarely get the recognition they deserve. They don't ask for the recognition, and they don't expect it. They do it because they can't not do it. My main mentor in life, who taught me much of what I'll go over here today, he used to say, don't wait to give people their flowers when they're in the grave. Give them their flowers while they're still here. A man by the name of Richard Bompard Jean Lafleur. Anyways, pardon me, y'all. It's a great guy. With that in mind, I'd like to take a moment to recognize some teachers in this room that have really impacted my business and have helped me a ton. And they've helped this partnership a ton, and they're still helping this partnership a ton today. So if you guys wouldn't mind humoring me for a moment, I'm going to call out some names that have just been really big to this partnership. Christine Wolpert, Jason Bingham. No, you can hold your applause. I got a lot here. Jason Bingham, Kevin Dexter, Rachel Hislop, Don Kelly, Lucas Knighton, Julie Arford, Lindsay, I don't know how to pronounce your last name perfectly, Schulte, Bill Prescott, Mark Finnick, Cynthia Straw, Russ Ellenson, Frank Sickerwan's my business partner, Rick and Joey Ford, Teresa Hines, Jennifer Mertz, Andrew and Tom Blanchard, Jeff Alec and Adam Falcon, Gary Benapal, Rick and David Baker, Eric Lee, Mark and Lisa Thompson, Mimi Harling, Brandy Sebastian, and Brad Jens. If you all wouldn't mind, please stand. And I would like to give these teachers their flowers today. And let's give them a round of applause. Yeah. Thank you. That's better. See, they're on it, aren't they? Thank you so much, y'all, for your contributions to this partnership. And thank you all for standing. I know this room is wall to wall, busting at the seams with people that are contributors to this partnership. But those all people, they have all added to me. And so I wanted to take a moment to paint a giant bullseye on their back. So I didn't do them any favors there. Now you know who has helped me get where I am, and now you can seek them out yourselves. But one of the most powerful things I've learned from these teachers is how to serve by giving freely of yourself. How to serve members so well they'll become as loyal as when they're renewing their memberships, because member retainage is number one at Costco for a reason. And they have been number one for a long time. But the hard tasks in life, and hard, I don't mean hard in a bad way, but I mean sometimes it is hard. I mean the 1% is harder than the 99% oftentimes. But oftentimes the hard tasks, they're just the best service. Just the unrelenting unrelenting, and sometimes it's hard. And it stands out more than the easy. But I define the word service as the action of freely giving more, and then even more, and then even more, and then even more to the member before I ever consider getting anything from them. We need to give more than is expected from the moment we receive a lead. We need to give so much value that you can walk out the front door very comfortable because you had to do a one-leg appointment and say, no, it's okay. You can think about this. And you can leave that game on the field and just leave it there and know that 5 days later when they sit at the dining room table, that when they think about going with that cheaper quote, they get a bad taste in their mouth about even buying from another company because of the presentation you left on the field. That's service, and that's where our competition can't compete with us in this room. That's why we're all here, right? Graber has assembled the best because that's step one for working with these people. I see this all the time at home and garden shows. We told, I'll never forget my first phone call with Susan Rock. I was so nervous. She was actually so nice. But I told her, I said, we really love home and garden shows, so we're so excited about the opportunity to exhibit in Costco. But it's so plainly seen to me there when you have companies sitting behind tables, not greeting people, and then they're like, oh, another one of these shows, terrible show again. We don't have tables, and we feel like it's our job to give an icebreaker to everybody that walks by. It's our job to walk towards them and start setting the example of, hey, we are here to serve you. And it's our job to find some way to give them information. Like, desperately want to give them information. If you want to take information, would you like some candy? I don't care if you want window coverings. Let's give you something. And maybe throughout this process, we might earn your trust enough that we feel like, hey, would you like a consultation? So here, what I really like to talk about, and this will be the meat of what I talk about today, is now more what I'm used to talking about. And this is what's in the consultation. So I want to just take that mindset that we've been covering in the consultation and how I'd use that to teach a member. And I'm going to give you a few examples. We need to give our members confidence in their selections. And it's our job to build that confidence through our presentation that they feel like we're the right dealer that's going to basically transform their house into their dream home. And I'd argue that window coverings are actually the most important cornerstone of home decor. But we can't really help members get excited about their window coverings if we don't get them to feel how that's going to tie in with the whole home. But sometimes that feels a little overwhelming because that's a little out of our job description. We're not interior decorators, but gosh, I love helping people in that regard when I can. And so that's why it's my responsibility as a servant to teach them, and to teach them by giving principles that help them understand what I'm prescribing is about to be exactly what the doctor ordered. And so I'm going to give a couple quick examples where objections or challenges are really just teaching moments in disguise. And I like to call these wolves in sheep's clothing. They look like obstacles, but to the best, yes. Oh yeah, there's a disagreement between Mr. and Mrs. Jones here. My competitor is not going to be able to diffuse this. Yes. Oh, it's an engineer. People hate selling to engineers. I love it. So the first one is going to be my go-to when a customer feels overwhelmed by choosing colors. It's how I get them back on track. It's when they feel, kind of lost in the sauce. And we all know the type I'm talking about. I just know something's missing, but I don't know what it is. But right away, they're ready to settle. They're ready to just go neutral, but you can tell that's not what they want. Are you going to let them take these? Okay. Cambridge light filtering white. Okay, got it. I still quote in the home. I know the fabrics. But they're really just so afraid of messing up, they're ready to just give up. I'm not okay with letting them give up. So I learned all this. Mom, she's a saleswoman. I'm a carbon copy of her, but she was a housing counselor before she was a real estate agent. That's the main thing she was. She was an educator. I saw her in some cases say, I'm not going to let you make that offer on that house for 3 days because I don't think you're ready yet. And you know what? That person didn't get that house. They got another house and they kissed her for it. And so if my focus is on giving them the best advice possible, then I'll treat them like family. And if you ever are like, what should I do? Why is my competition beating me? Yeah, they were cheaper, this and that, but why are they beating me? Go into that consultation, and if you've ever sold window treatments to your family, you know what I mean. It's agony. You're like, I want to give you every disclaimer in the world. I don't want you upset at me. I'm already doing this for nothing anyways. Like, I don't want to be. And so you just feel it's such a hard consultation selling to family. So treat that member like it's family. Just make sure they are so educated and well-informed that they just feel so comfortable with the decision. And so when I'd answer that client, when they're just feeling a little lost in the sauce, I'd say, well, settle yourself in on this thought. And it always gets me back on track when I'm trying to set up a room and it's a little hard. It's a simple rule. It's called the 60-30-10 rule. And it simply says that 60% of the color should be the dominant color, 30% the secondary, and 10% the accent color. And that'll create a pretty balanced look. The big thing with that, get rid of the percentages. Dominant, secondary, accent. Did that when I got dressed this morning. Dominant color, secondary color, accent color. Any brave soul like to stand up and test this theory with their own outfit in the front. I'm not going to have you walk the runway and strut, but anybody. So can we have a victim? Volunteer. Come on, I got to have one. One person got to stand up here. Anybody. Here we go. So 60-30-10. We have the dominant color, secondary color, and then the white. And then the accent color with the green, sir. Oh my goodness. Such a good example. Thank you. Thank you very much. I wasn't actually expecting him to come all the way up. Even better. Thank you very much. You identify a member is standing in front of you wearing that, and you point it out with their outfit. We are ready to pick window treatments now. You're right. I am dressed really freaking good. Let's pick out these draperies. I wasn't ready, but now I am. You're right. I got this locked down. All right? So they already follow this rule, but helping them understand they're following it, that's like showing them where they're at when they're lost in the woods. So if I can help them understand where they are with their decor, now I can help them get where they want to go. And so I can't even tell you how many times this has helped save a member from settling for this, looking like the beginning of Pleasantville before life was in color. And instead helped them feel confident enough to go for this. Or it may have unlocked the door for the member to consider adding layers that they hadn't before in another room that they said, no, we're not going to do anything in there with draperies like this. And now we likely doubled our sale. That's nice too. But only if it's something they genuinely want. I believe that. I want them to sit down at their breakfast nook in the morning, and I say this to them often, especially if they're really debating it at the end of the appointment. I think it'll get you the best sales when you're like, hey, I want you to sit down at the breakfast nook in the morning, look at your window treatments, and be like, we nailed it. It wasn't even what we were planning to get. Sometimes it will be what you're planning to get, but I want you to look at them in the morning and be like, yes. And if this isn't that, then maybe we need to keep looking. And a lot of times they're like, okay, that's your clothes? Yeah, that's it. What else you want from me? But even better than this, these are my favorite. Maybe a member is more than a little unsure. Maybe they're, tactfully, fashionably disabled. In the South, we have a term for that. We just simply say, bless their heart. And more often than not, it's the gentleman. Let's be real, guys. Ladies, y'all are doing amazing over there, but don't brag. You've got more cones in your eyes. It's not a fair fight. You can see more color than us. But I am aware there's a reason that a lot of the most successful in this industry are certainly women. You all know the client that I'm talking about, though. They have agreeable gray walls. This is the Spec Builder Special. They have gray carpet. They have white trim. And now they want cellular shades that match the walls. Seem like they'd be nice. And you just say, my next appointment is like, I could just say yes. I can't do it. And so then I'll explain this rule, the 60-30-10 rule, and I'll say, yeah, you could do that, but it's going to be like wearing a blue suit, blue shirt, blue suede shoes, and a white tie. There would be a 90-10 rule if that worked, but that doesn't seem right, does it? And they're like, oh my God, that's how outfits work. That's why the dates haven't been going that well. It's just like it just hits them all at once. And so honestly, I think about often, like, what if I help someone so much with their home decor, it like spills over into their wardrobe and like they pick the perfect outfit for the first date that turns into the last first date? Like, that would be kind of cool. Like, if window coverings, like, somehow, they probably wouldn't admit became part of their story, but they'd be like, that blind man Dan did me a solid there. I guarantee you somebody's going to use this when they get dressed tomorrow. Most of you might have already looked down at the outfit and said, was I 60, 30, 10? It's not a hard and fast rule, y'all, but it does get you started in a room. Another example of teaching instead of just telling, how many of you have members that just are unsure on energy efficiency? How do I know these shades are energy efficient? Then you can just tell there's doubt all over their face. And then they'll say, they're just very alarmed. But my heat, Daniel, is extreme. No, I need to take you in here. Look at the floor. Look at this. Do you feel this? Like, oh my goodness, the southern heat here is so much stronger than it is 10 minutes up the road where I live. Thank you for letting me know. But no, what they're telling you is they don't believe you're going to fix their problem. And so they're like begging for you to teach them. And so I answer them like this. Well, that is one of the most important questions you can ask Mr. and Mrs. Jones. And I really appreciate members that will ask it, because so much stuff is falsely marketed as energy efficient these days. And I really pride myself in having the answers. And so when we're talking about this, you've probably already heard of it, but the main thing we want to talk about is a measurement, because that's not fudgeable. That is a measurement. And that measurement's called R value. You probably know in your walls, you got R19, and your air ducts, R6 to R8. But what about your windows? Did you know in the whole house, 60% of your heat loss and gain comes from your windows and your doors alone. So if we can focus on making those more energy efficient, well, now we're on our way to an energy efficient home. But if we don't focus on that, you can forget everything else. So now let's talk about window treatments. The forward blinds you have currently, I know they have been durable. That is, they're durable. I'll give them that. I don't know if you noticed, the louvers don't close. The heat's coming in. Have you ever reached behind them? It's not that hot. Why? Because the heat's already in the room. Well, they have an R value of 0.8. 0.8, not 8.8. They don't even measure it anymore because it's not worth talking about. But cellular shades, you can pick the sheer fabric. You can start at R4. You can go to R4.76 in most of the collections. And then if you do blackout channels with their best fabrics, you can get to R5. Over 5 times better than blinds. So I appreciate your concern there, and I can tell you undoubtedly you are already on the right track with the right product. They're ready to buy. Okay. I'll throw in another free one, because these are really the heart of what I do, is finding ways to not kick in the front door of the member's mind, but go around the house to the back door, like somebody was so important to me used to say. And one thing we run into all the time is one spouse wants one thing and one wants another. And I'll give you an example in our area. How many people in here sell shutters? Just checking to see who's awake. Thanks. Something happens often. I'm trying to think if I want to go the issue of the tilt on the window, or if I want to go with the split. We'll go with split panel disagreement. How many of you go through a shutter consultation and you're dealing with a member? Your louver's knocked out, your color's knocked out, you got your frame, boom, bam, bam, thank you, ma'am. Would you like on this 36 window, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, would you like one panel or would you like 2 panels? And they look at each other and you're like, shit. We've got a disagreement, and you're not a marriage counselor, and you've got another appointment in 45 minutes. And so I have layers to this onion, but I'll go first layer with you. Well, the biggest thing I'm going to say with that client, and typically this is the way it is. Mrs. Jones is a little more up on the standards. Mr. Jones wants him like mom's house, and he can't get past how far it's going to swing into the room. So you got to hold his hand and walk him along. Sometimes it's the other way. But this is a really big deal in our area. We have a lot of historic areas. So this is just an example of how I can not leave the house with a disagreement and leave them with a quote that they're not going to agree on, how I can bring them to terms so they want to buy from me. And so I'll say, well, one of my most important things here is I want to make sure I educate you on the options. And the biggest thing here I need you to understand is no price difference. 2 panels, 1 panel, no problem for me. But I think it's a very different style-wise, so I think it's very important that I make sure we go over the pros and cons if you're okay with that. ask for permission. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm okay with that. I can't say no because my wife's standing right here, but I'll hear you out, man. And then I'll just go into, well, there's a reason they used to do 2 panels. Louvers were 1 inch. Have you ever looked through a mini blind? You can't really see out. Well, when you have those 1 inch louvers and they're wood, they're really thick. So what would they do? They'd make small panels you could fold back. Well, with those small panels, you don't need to do that today. Why? Because your louvers are 3.5 and you actually pay 4.5. You're going to be able to see out awesome. Now, yes, this is going to swing out further into the room, but let's walk through the front door for a second. We don't have to open that 180 degrees. We just opened it 45 degrees. Oh, that's how we have to open it to clean that window. It's okay. Come on. Come on. She's really in charge here. I just need to get you on board so that's, And if I need to go a layer deeper, I'll talk about there was reasons they had all these layers to window treatments. I did this awesome tour of the Bergman Wright House in Wilmington, North Carolina one time. And it was an epiphany moment from this young tour guide from UNCW. He was just so passionate, but he talked about, you know why there was all these layers in this dining room? And here I am, a window treatment consultant. I'm like, tell me, kid. Oh boy, did he. It was such a good point. He said, well, there was these shears and draperies and cascades and shutters because all the business was about to be conducted in the home and they wanted to focus in here now. This was the credit check, the fine china, the drapery, the shears, the jabots, the shutters. Look in here because we're doing business now. Let's get down to business. I don't know about you, Mr. Jones, but we're not using our homes like that anymore. We're living here. But if you're going for that historic look, I totally am with it. Let's do it. But I don't want to do it at the sacrifice of your light if you're going to be disappointed in me because I didn't let you get enough light. So, and then the other thing, last thing, I'll show them, here's a 2-inch style. Here's a 2-inch style. Boom. They got 5 windows. So we're just, no big deal. I just want to make sure you're okay seeing this. We're going to be like 4 inches up the middle of this window, 4 inches up the middle of this window, 4 inches up the middle of this window, I do this in front of them because I need them to feel the impact of that 4 inches. Mrs. Jones isn't going to be happy. And, sometimes I might sell them to the historic. Maybe historic is right, but what I'm talking about as a client, you can see what's right and you can see what is needed to get the job done. Do you have the heart of a teacher to go that far into it with them? So we have to serve our members by giving before we can ever think about getting. And in addition to serving our members, we have to also serve our teams before ever thinking about getting more from them. We'd have to lead our teams from the front, not from the ivory tower. It's been proven that many of the most successful leaders in the world, they had experience in a common industry, the food service industry. Also best salespeople. And why is that? Because they learn to serve. They're used to giving before they get. At the Costco Symposium in 1 BC, that's before COVID for anybody not using that calendar, 2019 AD, which, by the way, that was an awesome location, too. Costco and Gravy, they had us in D.C., the view of the Capitol, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Can't beat this. And then they took us to Dallas and had a view of where the Cowboys practice. I'm sorry, Frank. And then Christine somehow brings it all together this year in this place. And, if it's good enough for Marilyn Monroe and Clark Gable, it's good enough for this country boy. This place it's to the nines, right? This is great. Did you know that I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas was written out by one of the pools out here. Yeah, and Clark Gable and Marilyn Monroe frequented this place. And they built it in 6 months. It's crazy. What an awesome place. But it's a sidebar. But at the Costco Symposium in 1 BC, as I was saying, in DC, Christine, she brought in a great speaker that made such a huge point for me that made such an impact on the way we hired after that. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about you, Christine, because you're like a 1,000-armed telephone operator. Some people, when you ask them a question, they'll just answer and you can tell that's not a real answer. That's not what Christine does. She'll say, don't they answer that? I know the perfect person. She'll put you in touch with. She's like a 1,000-armed telephone operator. She brought in a great speaker by the name of Leanne Pilsner. You all probably might remember her. She made a point that was like an epiphany to me about the food service industry being exactly what I just said, and that's where I got that from. And it changed the way we hired. I stopped looking at that most recent part of the resume, and I started looking back at, well, tell me about Olive Garden. If I heard, oh, I loved it. I didn't make much money, and I had to work nights and weekends, and with my kid, that didn't work. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, well, maybe you should come on a ride along, because that's what I'm looking for. Somebody that loves serving. And a perfect example of this, I'm glad to say and thankful to say, is lead engraver today, and that's Jason Bingham. He's leading the greatest window covering manufacturer in the world. And by the way, if this is in any way relevant to current market conditions, I'm not saying that it is, but he also led Trane, the number one HVAC company, through a recession with unprecedented results. And you know where he got to start? Anybody? He was the best damn janitor some lucky McDonald's in Kentucky has ever seen. So good that they didn't want to move him up because nobody's going to keep the places clean. And finally he was like, well, guys, I'm going to have to move on if you're not going to. They were like, oh, no, we'll move you up right away. But anybody that's met him knows he's the exact same way today. We're really fortunate to have him steering the ship here. I'll never forget my first chance to have dinner. My lovely, which by the way, honey, would you stand up? This is my lovely fiance in the back. I've had a really good year, y'all. Best year of my life. I got engaged in Italy. Well, a lot of my team's probably finding this out right now. I got engaged in Italy, my love of my life, my fiance back there. And I have 6 nieces and nephews. 5 of them graduated in 3 weeks, a few weeks ago. Love them to death. And so it's been a really good year. And my whole family and all of you are about to find out right now that we're expecting. And expecting at the end of this year. And so it's been a really good year, so I'm happy to be here with all of you. But anyways, lost my place on that one. Sorry I didn't tell you that was coming, honey. Her face. Anyways, never forget my first opportunity to have dinner with my fiance and Jason and his equally brilliant wife, maybe even more so. He would tell you the same, Shelby. And it was a long group table, but there just quite wasn't enough room for everybody, so there was an overflow table, and it was squeezed into the corner. And before anybody could, I saw Jason and Shelby just do the scooch, just to get in there before, and nobody could do anything about it, and they wouldn't hear anything about it. They just said, no, it's fine. They did it like it was a reflex, like a doctor hitting your knee with a hammer, because they're servants. It's culture and servitude like that makes the best leaders. And the right leadership that begins at the top with people that lead from the front. The gold standard of that is with us today, with Costco. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. They give us so much to be successful before they ever get a sale from us. I'll never forget the beginning of this process. I was a little nervous to ask Christine a question, and it kept not coming up, and so finally I just said, Christine, I got to know, I've seen articles, and I know about how much a little print ad costs, and that kiosk is big. How much is it going to cost? Because I need to budget if we're talking about 2 warehouses. And she laughed at me. And you all know why. They give us a kiosk at the front of a warehouse. They give us exclusive access to the highest quality membership base in this country. They give us the ability, this means so much to me, Costco, to be true visible partners, not handcuffed like subcontractors. That's a real partner right there. They're not just trusting their members and having their members trust them, they're trusting us. They give us road shows. I'm sorry, I'm not sure everybody heard that last one. Let me say that a different way. They give us 30 days per year, 1/12 of the Gregorian calendar, if you will, inside the one building in your city where all the highest income, highest quality members of your community congregate every day. They give us access to fish with them. Where I come from, we call that fishing with dynamite. They don't tell us to come in with one hand tied behind our back. It just means so much to me, Costco. They lead us from the front with their actions and the way they've set up this program. Costco is one of one. And I just appreciate you all so much. I really mean it. The way you have made an impact in our businesses. No, please. Yeah. We love you to do that.
Thanks.
Wasn't expecting that. Oh my, Mark, nice shoes. We have learned so much from the example of these people about leadership. But you know, some of the most impactful lessons are often the simplest ones, like how to handle a member escalation. Oh yeah, I mean, they're the 1%, but they do stand out more. And so sometimes they're fun tabloid conversation. But we all know the member escalation I'm talking about. DEFCON 4. Much love to y'all. Y'all been there with us. It's 1:33 a.m. You say, who won the game? You pull up your phone. Let me just check my email. You see any member email, or God forbid, a Craig, but now a Ron letter. And it's longer than War and Peace and makes it look like a lighthearted read. It happens. It can. I'm convinced sometimes these members can't write that well. They just say, hey, lawyer on retainer, write me one of these up. But what to do when this happens, the simplest key that we have found, Mark sums this up best, get on the phone with a member. It really is. Just get on the phone with the member. Mark and Cynthia, you know, they don't just teach this, they practice it though, because they've been there with us when we've had an escalation we couldn't quite resolve. And you know what? Seeing them lead from the front on that, it lit a fire under our team to get on escalations faster. Lit a fire under our managers. Could not do it without them in a million years. They get on escalations so fast. They get on the phone unrelentlessly with members, trying to, what can we do? Let's hear you out. Because you know, most of the time, it's not actually us versus them. It's us versus all the other bad stuff that's happened to them. Like I was the bad patient earlier. We still got to be patient with them on that. Sometimes, once in a blue moon, maybe it's a really, truly unsolvable situation, but most of the time, it's just about hearing them out. And I'm not sure that Cynthia actually is over any of y'all's accounts, because I don't see you have time for anybody else outside of us. So that part doesn't compute with me. There's got to be a lot of Costco buyers behind the curtain. But really what I'm trying to say is next time you see smoke in the distance, escalation, a call, maybe a pre-escalation before the letter. Before the letter is the fire, but the smoke is the, ooh, it went bad. Get on the phone. Get on the phone with the member. Get one of the most qualified and proven people that is good at diffusing bombs on your team on the phone. Heather, our office manager, there's something about the way she was, oh, Shug, I hear you. It will just, you can't be mad after that. So, well, oh, she heard me. Okay. And so it's awesome when you have people that are able to just run towards that fire. And that's the big thing. Focus on solving the problem. We'll figure out who started the fire later. And you know who else leads from the front? The CEOs of Costco, Jim Senegal, Craig Jelinek, Ron Vacaris. They have set the standard from day one. I run a small business. I couldn't imagine going to 30 plus grand openings a year that are sprinkled all around the world. It seems crazy to me. But they see the value in it. We're on slide 25, if possible. Here we go. Thank you, love. And I often think about, really though, and we've seen this at grand openings, we've been fortunate to be a part of a couple of those. If Craig and Ron see the value of flying all the way there and being on the warehouse floor and shaking everybody's hand, if everybody's seen them walk around with a manila envelope, that's so cool. That's like a welcome letter. Hey, come on up with me, because we got this fun thing we're going to do. Like, I just thought that's so wise, like saying, I'm not scary. The same way, it's like, it trickles down to everybody's like, no, I'm not scary. Yes, we're a Costco and the stick we carry is really big, but we hate bonking people with it. And it trickles down from the top. And so, just like we talk about, we need to get on the phone, sometimes the simplest solution is we need to get on the floor of the warehouse, because if they can be on the floor, then so can we. And so I have a solution if something on the roadshow isn't working. It's you. Alex Falcon, a great presentation on roadshows. Really appreciate him sharing that the other day. That was wonderful yesterday. Yesterday was jam-packed. I have so many notes to take back to our team. Such a great seminar it's been put on here. But get on the floor. This is my solution. Anytime you hear, it's just the road shows us, is it worth it? Or maybe even the exit fence, you tried it and it's not worth it. Get in there and check yourself. As long as you're, outgoing. If not, get the most outgoing person on your team in there and check. But this is the solution. Get in there, get rid of your grand ambassador for 30 minutes. Go take a lunch. Get out of here. And you settle into either the exit booth or the roadshow booth, and you greet members. Icebreaker to everybody that walks by. Sometimes it's as simple as, hey, how you doing? I usually start out with, hey, how you doing? And then I work into more window treatment stuff. But icebreaker to everybody that walks by. You know what? Everybody's so anxious today. Nobody wants to talk to anybody. It's our job to talk to them first and break the ice. And then maybe they're interested. Who knows? But there'll be people at home shows that are like past your booth. They're like, oh, you need window coverings? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm closing on the house next week and have no window coverings. I'm like, well, you're just going to walk past? Yes, because they don't want to talk to anybody first. And so give them an icebreaker. And then when your brand ambassador comes back, work with them, trade off back and forth. Say, okay, here's how I'm going to do it. How are you doing today? Are you interested in any window coverings? We're running a 15% shop card. Just greet people and try to know the layout of the store too. Like if you can help a member find something, and if nothing else, if they're looking for something, all of my team has permission to leave the roadshow booth as long as they push the tray in and go help a member find an associate. Because at that point, if that member sees them again, they're going to be definitely wanting to talk to them. Like, oh yeah, especially if it's an elderly person, they don't need the extra step. Help that member. So get on there, and then even if you do that, even if that takes 20 minutes, I guarantee you if you compare that 2 hours to any other day, you're going to be like, oh, it wasn't broke. I've seen it every time. I've seen it about 10 days ago when I haven't done it in a while, but I trained a brand ambassador myself for 2 hours. Every time we get right back to it, oh, another fish in the boat. And I'm like, why are they jumping in the boat for everybody? So if you're ever unsure, just get on the warehouse floor. I'm going to pick on Bill Prescott again because I like doing it. But I have to tell you a story that's still fresh in my mind. And most of you might have saw this, or a lot of you saw this for yourself. And a side note for context, guys, I worked in AV for about 10 years, but not on the level you did. It was a volunteer basis, but for about 10 or 15 years. And the one thing that was always abundantly clear and sure was the worst job that no one wanted to do, that you had to beg for help for, was the microphone runner. Today we have the throw cube thing, which is fun. That's not the same, but Linda Mazarak's done a great job. But now a lot of you know where I'm going with this. Bill Prescott picked up the mic on his own before anybody else could, and he ran the mic around the room for like an hour. Someone in the back, Bill's like greased lightning. Did it like it was a reflex. Didn't do it to impress anybody. I leaned over to Rob, my sales manager, and I said, do you think you let me take the mic from me? He's like, I don't think so, dude. You're just going to have to get it first next time. Later, I just couldn't stop thinking about when they open up their computers, how many zeros and commas come across this team's desk every day. And yet somehow we're fortunate enough to be working under servants and teachers that lead from the front. And let me ask you this, can you think of another corporation where the buyers are anything like this? That's how rare it is. There's not another retailer. They all have the same pattern of chewing up their vendors and spitting them out at their convenience, and some escape the fire. By every check and balance, they really don't have to be as good to us as they are. They've got a really big stick. They just don't like bonking people with it. They don't have to treat us this well. They don't have to go this above and beyond. And they don't have to serve first, but every year they do. Always since the beginning. That's the same culture that Jason Bingham's talking about. And when I mention him, by the way, if anybody's maybe had a different opinion on Graber over the past years, there truly is a new sheriff in town. You should get to know him. There really is. Leadership all the way across the top. And he's not a scary sheriff either. Actually listens really well. And so if anybody's wandered away because of things of the past, there's a leadership in place now that really listens. And this is the wagon I want to hitch my horse to. And we all know that means with our core as well as our Costco, because it's a privilege to be a part of this partnership. And I can't believe anybody is going to be the most effective at their Costco partnership if they're not believers on their core side. It doesn't make sense to me that could be the case. And so I encourage anybody, if you haven't gotten around the new leadership group or you have an old opinion, new sheriff's in town. You two here. Jason, not sure. But where he's at. But These people, they don't throw us under the bus when something goes wrong. They give us solutions to be better business people. Y'all been there with us in the battle on the most complicated ones. Christine, I can think about ones where you were just like, Daniel, this is just one of those gray area ones. We just have to do what's right and just get the member satisfied. And I'm just like, whoa, Christine, are you, I'm like, no, I need to know. You're like, Daniel, this one, da-da-da. I mean, it's just incredible to me. I was shocked. But you're like, it's because of X, Y, Z, and we're just, we just got to do the right thing. Awesome working with these people. So now we've covered really the foundation of everything I wanted to talk about today. I'm going to blaze through some tools faster than Bill Prescott running a microphone. So is everybody ready to write fast? All right. Just kidding. I'm a teacher, so I want to share these in a way that can be taken back. So I just prepared a QR code. You can scan this or take a picture. If you don't get it right now, it's going to be up at the end too. But so you can take some of the things I'm about to cover quickly back to your team as I'm wrapping up here. And to begin with, there's estimating software for quoting in the home. And anyone that knows me or heard me talk a few years ago, because by the way, I've never been willing to share anything about my business in any other setting. That is totally prompted by all of you and Christine Wolpert. And so the only other time I've ever done anything like this was been because you asked. Other than that, I was, But you guys are so collaborative, it inspires it. It really does. And so I talked in 2021 for the first time, and that was a big deal for me to kind of share a little insights in my business. And one of the biggest things I wanted to focus on then was, if you're not quoting the home, and you're not quoting on estimating software, this is the linchpin that you're looking for to change your business. And I know it's hard, but please come with us. Please come with us, because it's required to be efficient. We can't still be building a house right now with a hammer. Yes, it can be done. It's just not the right way to do it. And so estimating software, I believe if you're looking for an impact point in your business, it's an estimating software. But the biggest thing is quoting on a computer. And so I believe in it so much, I reached out to Solotech, who I personally use and several of you use. And I asked if they'd be interested in offering Costco Graber partners some special pricing. Turns out they were extremely interested, because this room has made some huge waves. And at the link, you'll find access to Solotech's first ever discounted pricing. It's only for the people in this room, valid for dealers up to July 11th. Another option, though, that's 100% free, and I totally support, is GraberDirect.com. What an awesome tool they give us as dealers as a disposal. Gives us estimating options to set margin, all sorts of things like that. Gives you a really professional estimate. So I'm a big proponent of that as well. And then you're not having the transposing issue that you would from an Excel system, which we had been using, and I also think can be a good way of quoting on a computer. And there's other programs out there as well. Speed up a little bit through this. So now, estimating hardware to do that quoting, we use either Microsoft Surfaces or iPads, but the biggest thing is you want signature capture in the home. That just has to happen. And I'll give you 3 guesses where we bought all 25 of our computers in our company from. I'll give you a hint. We used our Costco City Visa. Everyone. Yeah. But really though, why would you buy electronics anywhere else? Black Friday, she's like, did you just buy a Samsung frame from Costco? Oops. For measuring, we only use Leica. Also recently, our sales manager and I, we've done a little test on a few different models, and we have found the D5 to be a little more accurate than the X3 or a few of the others. It is a little more expensive, but I think it's about a 1/16 of an inch more accurate on the test we did. Doesn't mean anything against the X3 or any of the others. But the extension pole, I think, is crucial as well. So here's the thing, y'all. That high window over the front door, when you can measure that from a 6-foot ladder rather than a 12-foot ladder, not only does Costco appreciate you just eliminating that potential high fall from the entire scope on the measurement, because a lot of times we're not wearing the kind of shoes our installers are going to be wearing for a design consultation. We might be wearing shoes like this. Think of getting in a car accident at 70 miles per hour versus 35 miles per hour. What's the fatality difference? It's similar on a ladder, 12 versus 6 feet. Save a hip, buy a laser, buy an extension pole. But the biggest thing about these, they give you time delay. So you can use that pole, and they allow you to round to the 1/16 of an inch. That's one of the big things you want if you're not using Leica. I do like the Bosch lasers. They do use a different technology, which is why I'm a proponent of Leica. So this is just rapid fire, just trying to share things that I think are impactful. And this is all going to be on the PDF. So Dropbox and Google Drive, you have to have all your specs, pricing, the new promotional flyer the day they send it to you. It has to be at your whole team's fingertips immediately. We went away from paper flyers. Have you all come up with a way that your team has it immediately? Dropbox or Google Drive, you have to have it tomorrow. DocuSign. Biggest thing here, you probably all are using it, but if you haven't negotiated for your packets for the year, do that. Make sure that they're giving you good pricing. And they should. Adobe Illustrator, you don't need to keep a subscription of this, but get a subscription of this so that you can edit your Costco contract so that you can type in it. It looks more professional. And then also, you can have it where if you fill out your address, it fills it everywhere for you. And so fill that out. If you have any questions on that, my email is going to be at the end. We have an awesome team that set that up for me. QuickBooks Time could be a great app to track your brand ambassadors, hours, and location. It's not perfect. They can still leave a phone there. It doesn't, it doesn't track them the whole time or anything like that. It just clocks the location when they clock in and the location when they clock out. But it is an app. And another big thing, as I mentioned, our 1,000-arm telephone operator here, she's going to be sending out a Google Forms survey after this. And you guys are going to have way better ideas than I have. Share them. Please share them. And I believe she's going to cover it in another collaborative setting. So it's going to be a Google form. It's going to come on a survey. It might be pushed down in an email somewhere. Don't miss it. Fill it out. What are your tools? What are your better ideas? What are your teaching tips that you share with members in a home? So name tags, not to cover that. It's so important to have. You guys already know that. Hand samples. If a picture's worth 1,000 words and a hand sample's worth 10,000, you need to watch your new designers. They'll over-explain with their words. They'll say, well, cellular shade's like this, and it's like this, and it's like this, and they can see it up here, and your members looking at them like, I lost you, bud. So hand samples, get them to stop doing that. Here it is. Company phone, don't let your phone number walk away when a designer leaves and then they call and say, hey, I want to do the upstairs of those roller shades now. And they say, I wouldn't work for them dirty, rotten scoundrels if no, I know that's not ever happening. But my main thing is don't let those leads walk away. Maybe they disconnect that phone number. Now you've just lost all those leads of that repeat business. Google Photos. It's a secret weapon if you organize and label it right. That's the key. You got to organize and label it right. What I love about Google Photos is you'll see here in the video. What if a member's looking for Delphine evocative light? Well, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, these are all projects we've done. Here's light filtering. I can show you room darkening. Would you like to see motorization? I know you were talking about cordless, but Lucas Knighton sure has sold me on this motorization thing. Are y'all telling members that 10 years ago, it would have cost 50 grand to do what you can do with a few $100s now with home automation? It really is like when the first flat screen TVs came out. Like nobody you knew had them. Like they were just like $50,000. And then later they were $1,000. And now they're $50. But that's what has happened with home automation, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Used to, it was only up on the highest hill that the people had that. But now we have people graduating college and saying, no, I don't want to press a button. I don't want to grab a shade. No, I want it motorized everywhere. Yeah, it's the new way. My grandfather thought it was ridiculous to have a remote for a TV. But I don't know about you, but if I don't have the TV remote, I'm not watching TV. Anyways, we need to show them motorized videos. I show 3 motorized videos at every appointment. I mean it, I swear to you. Any designer that's ridden along with me, they know it. I show videos like rapid fire. So Google Photos, the way you organize this, 1 for every product. And then I have a Daniel's favorite. That's the 100 pictures and videos I use all the time. And then when my design team rides along with me, if they're looking for a video that they saw me use 5 times, it's in there. And then have another one for motorization. You have a motorized roller shade. It goes in roller, it goes in motorized. Just start with 5 in each album. You can get that set up in 2 hours and build from there. 5 in each album. But label them. And because then you can search it. Cetera Terrain, anybody ever sold that material? Another best practice, I'm going to go through some ways that we use video now. Graber hears me harp on this all the time. I'm a big proponent of using video. We found with installation planning at projects that we could type till our fingers fell off our hands and we couldn't be as descriptive as we could in a quick video like this.
You can see how this shade here previously stopped short. Well, this little section right here will get notched, allowing this shade to move to and be installed all the way over. Reverse roll solar shades inside the opening. Now for most of these openings, we're going to do hold downs on the top of at the dog door. So this one, the hold downs are going to go approximately where I'm pointing right now, so that they can attach that right above the dog door. You have a partial button bypass. So this will be the butt shade. This will be the bypass shades. This one's going to go all the way, and this one's going to barely butt up against that one. It's still going to cover the glass completely. It reaches the floor. Just lift up the edge of the carpet and run the wire under it, and then run out the wire here up to a plug. There's a plug in the center of all three. The client knows they're going to have some touch-up painting to do after we notch approximately 3 to 4 inches of this crown molding here.
These will also be on the PDF as well, if you want to use them as an example to say, I mean, one of the biggest things that's tough to get across, especially if somebody's not used to taking videos, is you really just got to point so that it's not just your words. Laser pointer on your laser is a great way to do it too. But these videos, they're priceless for training new designers immediately. How many of you have ever been training a new designer and you don't have a button bypass to show them when you need it to show them? You can only show it to them in the Graber book, and that's great that you can at least show them an example. But it's not like seeing it in the home. And so if you have these videos, you can be like, oh, wait, 1 minute. Here we go. This is what it's like. But these install planning videos sometimes have a dual purpose. I want y'all to take this back to your teams. They document the expectation in high definition so that you don't have to have a battle on the field as many times with Costco. Now, why did I do this? Because I had a member in Myrtle Beach that I told that they were going to have a 5-inch gap because they were having a large cassette button bypass in a porch. It's going to be a 5-inch gap. Had a beautiful paperwork that even my lawyer would approve of. You know what they said? I don't remember you talking about that. And I didn't see that note. I reviewed it with you. Okay. So I said, okay, Daniel, you're going to have to learn on this one, but evolve and improve for next time. So just be even clearer. And so then my install prep videos, they became even more important for documenting the things that set off my spidey senses, but weren't quite to where Mark was talking about, where we have to walk away. You don't get to be trigger happy with that. Sometimes we just need to have a little more patience. And sometimes we just need to make sure that they know, no, I'm a professional and this is what I'm able to deliver. And I hope that works for what you're looking for. I really do, because I would like to work with you. And then they're like, oh, okay, I respect that. Now I know where we stand. Sometimes they just think that maybe there is a way to get you to do this thing they want to do, and they don't understand, no, I just can't do it. And so for things that set off my spidey senses, like these, they're going to mount about 3 to 4 inches up on this white space here around. But then this shade is going to be the butt shade. And so this shade is going to come out approximately to about right here. And then the client is aware that that means that this shade is going to have a sliver open because it's butting up against this one. This is going to be a blackout roller That's because
shade,
of that client.
and we're going to have side and seal channel on the left and the right side. The customer's already aware that because it's a sheetrock wrapped opening, even when we have side and seal channel, that up here in the corners, there is still going to be a pinhole of
context. Mr. and Mrs. Jones are standing right behind me right now. And Mr. Jones has asked me 4 times in the past 30 minutes, right before he said, yes, let's do this order. He asked me 4 different times, are you sure this is going to block enough light for me to sleep? Because I'm really light sensitive. I've told you 4 different times, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. This is how much light in this video it's going to block. If that's not going to work for you, I totally understand. But yet they want to order. So I did this.
light, and I have instructed them that if they don't want any light, then they don't need to get any window treatments from us, because we can't block 100% of it. But if that little bit of light was a problem, the only thing to do on top of that would be add a drapery in front. These 2 roller shades are going to mount right on the top piece of trim, and because the handle is angled, we don't think we're going to need to space these out at all. It should be just fine if that shade bumps this bottom rail and continues on down. So since these handles come out further, a little bit further from the wall, what we're going to do is still mount to this top piece of trim, but if needed, we're going to space it out a little further. I've shown the client that the shade may push on the back of the valance just slightly. You wouldn't even hardly notice it, and they're totally okay with that.
So just examples of how what you're saying with them, you can document. Also, you know what this does is sometimes our installers, they are phenomenal installers, but they are not great arbitrators and mediators. They get put in some really tough situations, and we have ones that excel at it, but others don't. And so it's so helpful for them to come in and maybe even review the project planning video that you sent them prior to install. And the client's like, wow, this is prepared. And now before that shade's even gone up and they got a twinkle of an eye of a bad impression, they've remembered the consultation, whatnot. And it's just such a professional way to go about it because you're just prepping your installer on the situation. I always ask for permission if I can take the video, of course, but when they're okay with it, then absolutely do that. And our opportunity to teach, it doesn't stop with window covering. Sometimes that can spill over into when we need to hire for a new design consultant in a position. How many of you run into when you're hiring for a designer, and I hope a lot of you probably do ride-alongs like we do, and then somebody says, wow, there is so much more to this than selling blinds. You guys probably all said it when you wandered into this like I did. We heard it so often we decided to do something about it. So we created a private YouTube video that we could share to prospective employees when we're recruiting, and a video that basically explains what we do other than just sell blinds. Because I got sick of it. And so here are a few clips of what that can look like.
But today I want to talk a little bit about what we do. And so over here, we'll look at some of our shades. One of the primary things we do is motorization. We do the complicated stuff. So on any given day, we may be having a client reach out to us saying, I need something for my windows, but I don't know what. You would be the person that would be going in their house and helping them figure that out. One of the big things we do is we make a big difference in a client's home. We make a difference in child safety. We keep their children safe. We keep their pets safe, believe it or not.
One of the other best ways to make a lasting impression has nothing to do with window coverings, and I just go to what I really love, and that's food. I love food. Anybody that's eaten with me, I'll know I love recommending a restaurant in a heartbeat. So I love doing it for a member that's just moved to town. What a courtesy to have a bulletproof restaurant list that doesn't miss when you just moved to town, so you don't have to trial and error your way through an area. Really, it started from, I would get offended when somebody said, oh, there's no good food in this town. I'm like, and so then I would write it down for them. And then I realized it always took too long, and they'd lose the little napkin I wrote it down on, or they couldn't read my chicken scratch. So I did something about it, and I made a video, or not a video, I made a Google list like this, which you'll see in this video. And it shares some of my favorite notes, my favorite dishes on my places. I make it one time, and then I can share it with them. And you know, when they follow that, now they associate me with more than just window treatments. I own real estate in their head now. They're like, oh my God, my window covering guy of all people, well, you give me this list. And this restaurant, and this restaurant, and this restaurant. And I'll start them out with a couple really good ones. But you know how much of an impression that makes on them when they sit down at the dining room table 5 days later because you were comfortable leaving your best on the field and not pressure closing them. Makes such an impression. And so food isn't the only thing unrelated to window coverings I talk about. I love sharing Costco facts. I did before I was in this partnership, honestly. I was a big fan before, bigger fan now. And because if there's one thing Costco members love, they love talking about Costco, really, don't they? They love knowing your inside scoop, and they really love sharing theirs to you. And so I started talking more, speaking Costco, if you will, with the members. I started making more time to do that. I started seeing things around members' houses and saying, oh, that little Wuzu fan that you have over there, I had to buy a new one of those every time a family member came to stay. Isn't it so cool how it oscillates this way and this way? And it goes like Wuzu. I think that's how they got the name. But I also work in facts throughout the consultation because it lets them know that I'm with you. I'll let them know that Costco sells more chickens than anyone in the world, more diamonds than Tiffany and Company, more hot dogs than every MLB stadium in the country combined, more wine than anyone in the U.S., more organic food than Whole Foods. Do you know that? They sell more prime beef than any other retailer. Costco's food courts will be a top 10 pizza chain, and 0.97, that means it's on clearance, y'all. Asterisk means it's not coming back. And my favorite, I share this at every consultation, no matter how much time I'm behind or anything, 75% of their profit comes from your membership fee. But what does that mean for you, Mrs. Jones? And first of all, they're publicly traded, so this isn't something they can skew. That means that everything they sell in the whole world, when your neighbor down the street says, oh, Costco makes a killing off of me every time I go there. No, they don't. They don't. Everything they sell in the whole galaxy is so low margin, it only accounts for 25% of their profit. So you know when you're buying something from them, they're covering the overhead. Other than that, they shook hands with you at the beginning of the year and said, all right, thanks for paying the membership. We'll go negotiate and sell it back to you for what we buy it for. That's pretty much the deal, and they've stuck to it. That's the difference. I love talking about these things. All right, so now you all know I don't just love Costco. I probably have a problem. But finally, and sorry to take up so much of your time, but really all of this today and everything I've gone over that we do, it doesn't work. The service, the teaching, the tools, they don't work if you're not in the right partnership. I came from turkey farming. I learned hard work from my father. He ran the cleanest, the sharpest farm, and he did it almost solo and still does it almost solo today. But you can't control the climate. You can control making sure you're planting the right thing in the right soil, and you can control what you do, doing the hard work. Sometimes that's the hard service. Sometimes that's the figuring out the most complicated things. But it's that hard work that you can go to sleep at night. You know, no, it's going to grow. It's going to grow because it's in the right partnership. And so Bill Prescott, he talks about a four-legged stool that makes his partnership strong. And I think that's like a perfect analogy. It really is, because this partnership is working so well because there's four components that are all strong here. And if even one of those legs loses strength, the entire partnership doesn't work the way it does today. I actually asked Christine if I could get a four-legged stool and bring it in and get a little electric chainsaw and hack off one of the legs. And she was like, you were absolutely not bringing power tools around the buyers. That's why she's in charge. But the first leg is one of the two most important, undoubtedly, and that's the right leader and retailer, Costco wholesale. There's no better retailer in existence. By every quantifiable metric I can see, their culture, their people, their integrity, they're unmatched. They always provide maximum value. I try to buy anything I can from them because I want them in that situation. We are so fortunate to be part of that narrow 3,000 some product offering. Wow. We get 6 SKUs here. Wow, that's really cool. And the second leg, that's the right manufacturer, Graver, because a great manufacturer, especially in this program, it's not just about making the best industry-leading products. It is about standing behind them more than anything. And that's exactly what Graver does better than anybody. Every year I've been in business since 18 years old, my business has gone up with Springs Window Fashions every single year. And that's just because of track record and trust. And it's gotten better. It really has. It's never been as good as it is right now. And they don't just sell window coverings. They support us dealers who sell them. They invest in their products. Then they're dealers, and they're really invested in their future right now. Guys, when that survey comes out, this is the time to give feedback. They are listening. Okay? They're by far the most committed industry partner I've ever worked with. I really appreciate you, Graber. And the third leg, that's all of us, the right dealers for this partnership. Wow, they've painstakingly picked each and every one of us, and I've learned so much from all of you. And coast to coast, Graber, I don't think this is a stretch to say. I think in this room today, they've gathered the strongest ever assembly of window covering dealers in one place. I really think that. Tell me, pound for pound, per capita, what room has there ever been more window covering talent than here today? This is the first time we've done a Costco Symposium with everybody all in one place. You all are really so exceptional. And the fourth and final leg, it's undoubtedly the most important. Everything we do, everything Costco does, everything Graber does wouldn't exist without Costco members and the trust they have in Costco. Costco built this membership base. They built this trust that allows us to succeed, and it's our job to protect that trust. And so if Bill will allow, I'd like to add a fifth element to this metaphor about why it works in this partnership also so well. And the fifth and final part that connects all four of the legs is the seat of the stool. And the seat, for my metaphor, is going to represent our industry, which I love, the window fashion industry. And it's the right industry for, I believe, if we do have challenging waters ahead. I wandered into this industry by accident. I was at a window covering consultation for my first house, and I know I got into this early, but mom was a housing counselor and had me in a wonderful situation with subsidy on a house at 18 years old. And I'm at that consultation, and she says to the guy, "Now this is a salesman if you need a salesman." And I'm like, "Will you leave me alone?" In reality, he did need a salesman, and I wasn't interested at the time. One thing led to another. Let's see what happens. But what kept me here? It was an industry that I had room to grow and evolve and set apart from competition because it's complex. So when we have issues and we have escalations, let's not lose track of that's so much of our job security, because your job is so stinking hard. The other kiosk programs don't have 2 trillion options. Let's look at awnings. I love awnings, but it is a relief to have less options sometimes. It has the golden goose of smart home and motorization. Here's another quick one I'm going to throw in. You have a sunroom. Sunrooms, I recommend you saying this to your members. Well, I'm finding from a lot of my clients, they spend more time in the sunroom than any room in the house. And then they start going, we spent 60 grand on that thing. You think we're not going to spend time in it? They've got 10 windows now, and they've got a couch in front of it. Don't just tell them, okay, well, we can do motorization. No, I'm not in any of that business. That's not the thing to break. Well, you might push a little further. No, show them their inconvenience. I call it sticking your finger in that wound and wiggling it. Like, okay, Mr. Jones, I totally hear you, but I want you to know it's going to take me 2 seconds from my estimating software to give you a motorized quote if you'd like it. But the biggest thing is the couch going to go over here. Well, I just want you to, I know this is going to be annoying, but if you'll humor me, I think it's important just so you can make an educated decision. This is what it's going to be like operating cordless on these. Well, I'll just do 5. 1, 2. Now we got to kneel on the couch. 3, 4, 5. Now you've really set the point in their mind. Do I want to do that crap every day? Doubled the sale. We have that in our industry. We have layers of opportunity from drapery where you can take that room where they say, we don't want to do anything. We're like, I have time for throwing you a price on an accent panel and one of my favorite fabrics if you have time to look at it. Just saying, it would look kind of like this, but no, you don't have to. Like whenever I've passed out flyers at houses around any house I've ever done, I've always looked at it as they have to stop me from walking away. I'm just like, I was walking next door and I just saw you didn't have window covering, so here's this. And then they're almost like, what, you're leaving already? I'm like, yeah, if you need something, here's my info. But they pretty much have to prompt me from walking away. Because what we do, it's so easy to sell for me. I love it. So I believe if we do our job right after every consultation, the members should realize the most important decision they'll make for their home is window coverings. Could someone in here just doubt me on that one? Anybody? Yeah, more important than the roof. And let me prove it to you. Picture your dream house, most beautiful house you've ever seen, but I want you to picture a specific one and how much it's worth. Is it 1, 10, 100 million? But picture an actual house. Look at it from the outside, maybe look at it from the inside. The one you'd buy if you won the Powerball, maybe. Everybody got one? Now picture that exact same house. I do this with members. I'll say, picture your house. Look at it from the outside. Look at your Zillow on it. Now picture that same house without the windows. No windows, no view. How much is the house worth now? How much is it worth to you? Just the box. That's how important our industry is. That's what we get to sell every day. The windows and the view are everything. People spend, well, first of all, this is something I say so often to our team. It's probably annoying. There's no such thing as money. There is only time. And so when somebody's giving you a big check of money, they're cutting off a sliver of their life and they're handing it over to you. That's a precious thing. And so they spend their whole lives trying to get the perfect what to settle down in. Location, location, location. And then they go and block their view with the wrong window treatment, and we let them because they don't want to put it up and down every day. I tell clients that I have asked a lot of clients, and I've come to the conclusion that motorized window coverings get operated at least 4 to 5 times more often than manual window coverings. I think that's pretty conservative, actually, because manual window coverings, there's so many rooms that you're just like, nah, not today. The ones I have to. Motorized, my house is all on a schedule. Ask Lucas Knighton. People spend their whole lives trying to get that location. We get to sell access to that location, but we have to teach them what we're selling on that. And we have to make so much of an impact. We own all that real estate into their head that the other person that came in that was maybe even sometimes because they're just a, truck in a truck, if you will, they are $2,000 less. I mean, it's a big amount. That's a lot of money today. But do they feel comfortable with them? We get to do this, right? We could be selling gutters, people. I mean, nothing against anybody that's in the gutter business either, if we have a side business in that. But I mean, has anybody ever bought the house off the gutters? I don't think so. We get to sell window coverings. We get to sell window fashion and function and life-changing accessibility. Do you know so much of our country is vitamin D deficient? We get to sell access to light control so that they don't leave those window coverings down because they're not convenient. I get to sell products I believe in. And so if we can teach that and the value of what we offer, then they will buy. They really will. But not everybody's going to see the value. And so you got to be okay with the ones that don't. And it's totally okay. If sometimes, we come from a military town where we also have very young Marines. And I was always totally comfortable with them being like, this is nothing against you. I actually way liked your presentation. I'm going to be stationed here a year. And I'm like, get it, my guy. Actually, here's a couple places I call. If you want me to give you some tips, I'll help you out. And if we are focused on giving before we get, and if we've served before selling, and we've educated before closing, then the sale is already made. We don't have to go in there and put the member in a headlock to get them to buy. We get to just say, hey, come along with us. This is what we have. Does it fit you? And then they'll come because we're in the right partnership. And then the sale just becomes a natural conclusion of what we built. And so here's the thing I tell my team all the time as I'm closing here is I want volunteers, not prisoners. And if you skip the hard work and you neglect the teaching and you rush to the sale, that's where the headlock comes in. And that's not how we sell. We don't take prisoners. We enlist volunteers. And so what do we actually sell? We sell half the value of the home when I go into a consultation. You better believe it. And we sell the best access to natural light we've ever had, that's ever existed in human history. You've never been able to get it as good as you can get it right now. Right now, the smart home TV is crazy low, good timing. And that's just true. It really is just factually true. And so when we teach them the real value of what we bring, they'll buy. Because we're in the right industry, we have the right leader, and we have the right manufacturer. And we're the right dealers for it, too. I tell you, I'll go to battle with y'all any day, and there's no better member to sell to than Costco members. That is just factually, look up statistics from every point of view. Member income and quality and consistency on visits and loyalty and trust, just off the charts. And so in closing, I can't help but share a quote that helps shape much of what I try to remind myself each day on what I do. And it goes, if a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets as Michelangelo painted or Shakespeare wrote or Beethoven composed. He should sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth pause to say, here lived a great street sweeper that did his job well. And that's how you win in the right partnership. You just focus on doing your job well because you are in the right partnership here. And focus on just being your best. The hardest part isn't selling in this partnership. The hardest part is building the right team to help you support that mission. And our team, I call those pillars that hold up the roof. And we have so many pillars on our team today. You all wouldn't have a clue who I was if it wasn't for that incredible team I get to work with. And just find professionals that serve by nature. When I was growing up, anytime we had the opportunity to serve in our home, oh, Mom, it was a work of art. she taught us to serve people better than they had ever been served. She pulled out all the stops. That is when the finest got pulled out. It didn't matter who was coming. If they had kids, guests got our best. She always taught us, you're going to leave them with an impression that you were so kind that they just never forget staying at your home. And so when I walk into a member's home, I want to give them a level of service that they just can't forget. I own real estate in their brain now. And that's it. That's how I sell. And so that's our team's secret. And again, thank you to Costco for the privilege of working alongside this partnership. It is the best in the business. And thank you to Graber for being the most committed industry partner out there, a company that really listens and supports and evolves. And thank you to all my colleagues and peers that have helped mentor me through this partnership. And thank you all again. And Christine, do we still have time for a few questions? I believe I ran a little bit over there, but if everybody didn't get the QR code, it'll be up here as long as with my email. So
yeah, plenty of time for questions.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you all. Thanks, sir.
Now you have to borrow it. You have a mic.
Nope.
You have a mic down here.
Here you go.
Okay, here we're going to do this trick again. So this morning I woke up and I said, what are we going to do today? I know we've had a pretty good symposium, having everyone together in one group. And I have to tell you, after this presentation, this is the best symposium we've had in this thing. There's no question.
Oh my goodness.
So I also go back, it kind of reminds me of a book I read once, and it was about parenting. And the first chapter started out with the whole idea, the premise is you cannot control what another person thinks. And I think your idea about educating is exactly right on the button in getting people to, not forcing them to think, but getting them to think in a way that's consistent with what we wanted, our message is out there. The second part was, wait a minute now.
You're making me feel better about all my gaffes. Thank you for this.
Here we go.
You do this so easy. You make it look easy all the time.
This is important for you. And that is, parenting is a process of gradually letting go. So as you go from 0 to 18, your kids are completely dependent upon you. And I think the same thing for all the people within your organization are dependent upon you to help them along. And I think this program has taken a life of its own. And I think the last I'll leave it is hopefully everyone in this room has taken away that nugget. And by talking to each other, I think that's where we have gained the most out of this whole process. And that is, I hope you all have taken one thing away today that you're going to put into practice within your businesses. And thank you so much. That's absolutely fantastic.